Yeah,
I
flight's
gotta
at
get
6. Flight's at 6.
Oh, okay.
So I got to leave here about 3:30. I'm way out. Oh, welcome back to 755 Forever. I'm David O'Brien, Braves writer at The Athletic with my co-host, former Braves reliever Eric O'Flaherty. What's happening, Eric?
What's up?
Well, that trip and especially that Dodger series did not go as I thought it would go. But you know what? I should have been. We thought they're due to break out of this offensive funk, and it just got extended in LA. And I tell you what, the Dodgers are really good.
Yeah.
All their pitchers pitch really well. The bullpen guys pitch well. And that lineup with Shohei added, Mookie, Shohei, Freddie is it's a pretty formidable.
Yeah, I heard an announcer say Hall of Fame row when he was referring to it. Like the other team was pitching and the Dodgers 9-hole hitter was up. And he's like, you got to get him here. You got Hall of Fame row coming up. And I think that's a pretty good, way to
Yes.
look at it. Those guys are
Yeah.
all studs.
And they got some other guys down in the order that, they platoon some and all that. And a lot of those guys got popped, man. A lot of them, like Teoscar Hernandez, this rookie from Cuba, the Braves couldn't get out the first couple of games. Pages, it's
Yeah.
spelled like pages, but it's Pages. He was a stud the first couple of games. Glasnow, if he just stays healthy, I mean, that's a big if, but my God, right now he's the Spencer Strider of this season right now.
Yeah.
65 Ks in 50 innings, 50, I think it's, yeah, 50 innings, leading strikeouts and innings. Next highest strikeouts like 53, 6 wins already. Yeah, he was dominant.
Yeah, they have a really good team. The thing about their offense too is like I feel like it's a collective approach. You play these teams that it's like one guy really works the count, and the next guy after a walk comes up, swings first pitch, and hits into a double play. They all
Mhm.
seem to be on the same page and working,
Yeah,
the counts and having tough at bats, and they can all do
yeah,
damage. It's a really good lineup.
yeah. They all do work counts, and they really uh they really kind of exploited Bryce Elder. We've talked about how good his location has to be when you're throwing 90, you can't miss over the plate. And when he did, they just destroyed him. I mean, he gave a couple home runs on pitches right over the middle, 92 miles an hour, or if that, and he walked four. He can't do that. And he
Nope.
walked in front of home runs, and
It's kind of like in those starts, I felt the same way as a reliever. If I got called into a game in eighth inning or something like that, and we're down 8-0, but you have to face like the 2, 3, 4, and they're all
yeah,
slugging right-handers that love hitting off lefties. It's kind of like those are the games you just fight for your life, and see if you can minimize the damage and get through them. And that's kind of what he has to do in those starts because that's a really tough lineup. And then you got to have your good ones against other teams.
and he's facing Glass now. That was just a total mismatch. I mean, not to belittle Bryce, but that was on paper it was a mismatch, and that's exactly what it turned out to be. He went 3 1/3, gave up 7 hits, 7 runs, 4 walks, 3 home runs. He gave up the homer to Muncy after a leadoff walk to Will Smith in the second inning. How many times have we seen the leadoff walks kill guys, especially lesser pitchers? Gives up a leadoff walk. Max Muncy comes up, 0-1 slider. Didn't look like it was that bad a pitch. It was on the outside corner, but it's not doing a whole lot. And Muncy crushed it. 412. He walked another and gave up a hit in that inning, got out without further damage. But then in the next inning, he gives up a leadoff homer on the first pitch to Pages on an 88.5 mile per hour fastball. I mean, those guys are got to be going, give us more of those because they don't see many of those, especially over the plate, not at the bottom of the zone. So he gives up the leadoff homer to him, then walks the next guy, James Outman, the 8-hole hitter. Two batters later, walks Betts, and then gives up an Ohtani double, RBI double. That's it for him. They bring in Derek Lee. Used to cover Derek Lee. You played with Derek Lee, didn't you, for a
Yep.
year?
Yep.
Dylan Lee comes in with 2 in scoring position and gives up consecutive RBI singles. That's what Bryce said he felt worst about was laying. He put it hanging D Lee out to dry, and also Jackson Stevens in effect, because he's as he pointed out, Jackson Stevens got there at 6 p.m. for 6:10 start. And he was thrust into the game after starting the day in AAA and flying cross country. I think he had a connecting flight, so he didn't get there until right before the game. He gets thrust in to the 7th inning, and he came in with 2 in scoring position and gives up a after Matzik only get recorded 2 outs, give up 2 hits, right? Leaves the game, give up a run. Matzik does not look like himself. I mean, we can talk about him in a minute, but Matzik gets out of there, and Jackson Stevens comes in, and it's 2 outs, and he induces. Did you see the pop fly he gets to shallow right? Would have got out of that inning. Ozzie goes back, catches it. It looked like, but it bounced out of his glove. Initially ruled an error. Then they changed it after the fact to a hit. So there was 2 more runs that went on Matzik's ERA, and he cannot afford to have 2 more runs added to his ERA, which is 9.90 now. And in his 8 of his last 11, it's like 14 something. I mean, he's getting crushed. He's getting up over 400 batting average allowed, over 1,000 OPS.
That first year back's tough.
Yeah.
I think recovery is probably like the hardest thing. You know, you have good days and bad days.
Yeah.
Your number gets called on the bad day. You know, I mean, those are the numbers you see. It'd be nice, you know, it'd be nice if Strider was healthy and they were getting more days off, but it is what it is.
Well, the problem with Matzik, as Snit pointed out, is Snit goes, it's hard to get your velo back and get your command when you're pitching basically once a week. And he goes, but that's when they've been using them because the other guys are doing better. And Snit actually said that.
Yeah.
So, but one of those other guys that's been doing better is no longer in there. And I think losing Pierce Johnson if it's just elbow inflammation and all he thinks all he's not going to need is the 2 weeks. It wouldn't even probably need that much, but he's had a pretty serious thing before, forearm thing that kept him out most of the season in 2022. And he goes, this is nothing like that. He goes, I can tell, this is just soreness. He was sore after his last appearance. He said he was perfectly fine till then. And he was a little sore and it didn't go away. The Braves tried to stay away from him for a few days. Since it wasn't getting better, so they put him on the IL to let it calm down. So if that's all it is, it's 15 days, no big deal. I mean, it's a long season and they're trying to keep these guys fresh. No MRI scheduled yet. But Snit goes, hopefully that's all it is. Because we've seen this before in the 2 more days, it's not going away and they get an MRI and all of a sudden you got something. So, but right now they're saying that they're hoping that they think that's all it is. And they've got enough guys to cover, where a guy knows better than to try to pitch through this and make it become a lingering thing.
Yeah. I mean, it might be one of those things too, that you wouldn't even hear about if you didn't get a couple short starts or guys flying in and having to,
Yeah.
Sometimes you're able to keep this stuff quiet and not have it come out. And it seems like they tried that, give them a few days to let it calm down. But I mean, stuff with like your flexor, that can get flared up and completely go away after like 3 or 4 days of rest. But if you can't afford to give a guy, they do have the 2 off days this week. So
yeah, they got one Monday, 2 days, 2 games against Boston, then another one.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean,
he's not going to miss a lot, but he's not going to miss a lot of games either because of that. So then they got another off day coming back. So we have a new segment and a new sponsor, Gerber and Holder, attorneys who only represent injured workers, sponsoring this injury report. By the way, just like these Braves, if you've been hurt on the job, go to www.gerberholderlaw.com. That's gerberholderlaw.com, GERBER holder.com. And yeah, Pierce Johnson, they obviously cannot afford to lose him because I wrote something about him and it's kind of misleading. You look at his ERA, it's like 3 something. But he gave up 3 of his 4 runs in that one game against the Mets. You throw that one out, and this guy's been as dominant just about as any reliever in baseball. He has been outstanding. So I asked him we talked about the curveball. He's throwing the curveball this year. I looked it up on yesterday after he got hurt. I knew it was really high. 79% of his pitches this year have been curveballs. which he's been up to like 64, I think, in the past, but this is the most he's ever thrown it. And he's got a good fastball too, 95 something, 95 point average velo, good movement. And I asked him about that. He goes, sometimes it's 50-50. It depends on what my heater's like that day. It might be more with the heater, but depends on who we're facing, how I feel that day with my heater. But anyway, he said, he goes, but seriously, I've had nothing this year before this. So in other words, he knew I was getting at
Yeah,
maybe
is
the
it the
curveball's putting a
curveball?
little more torque on your elbow, and he completely dismissed that or tried to refute that or whatever. But what else is he going to do? But I mean, he knows a lot better than I do if that puts some more stress on his elbow, and I don't think he's going to do it. Keep throwing it as much if it does. So, but you just got to wonder that can't the curveball put more
I
a
would
little
think
more
so. Yeah, I mean,
it depends
you
on
don't even let kids throw breaking balls until a
you're
certain
supposed to.
age, you know. I think it's how you grip it too, how tight you're squeezing it. Uh, there's a lot of different factors to it, but yeah, I mean, Strider started throwing a curveball, and I get that that's a concern, but it's not like I don't know that 65%
Right,
versus 80
right.
if it's that different.
He's
Then
been
I
throwing a
mean,
ton
he's
of
been
them
doing
for a
it his
long
whole
time.
career. He's been
Right.
living on that pitch.
And also, I didn't look at the breakdown last year between Colorado and when Atlanta got him, but he might have been higher with the Braves because his curveball wasn't breaking
Actually
at Coors
broke. Yeah.
Field.
Yeah.
So, and he it started to get the same movement when he came to Atlanta. And it's a tremendous curveball,
Yeah.
obviously. I mean, I don't know why he would. Like, I was talking to AJ afterwards, and AJ said, "Yeah, he throws it like 90% of the time, doesn't he?" I go, "Well, not that high, but close." And he goes, "I wish I had one pitch that I could throw, and the guys knew I was going to throw it, and they still couldn't hit it."
Yeah.
It's like Mario Rivera with a
Yeah.
cutter.
Yep. Yeah, and I
So,
think you get into a point too where it's almost easier to throw that and control that pitch when you use it that much.
uh-huh.
Like I my first year in the big leagues, I was throwing the Joe Jima, and he loved my slider, and he would just put three down every single
Yeah,
pitch, and I'd have
yeah,
to shake the fastball. I mean, I'd have to go back and look at the numbers. I don't know what it was, but it felt like I threw a slider 60% of the time, and it got to the point where I threw so many that if I was in a 2-0 count and I needed a strike, I could
yeah,
almost play the fade, and I knew where to start my slider versus the fastball was almost foreign. Like when I needed a strikeout or something, I could throw a high fastball,
yeah.
like a 2-0 or 3-0 count, and it was a lefty, I could throw that fastball away. But if I was facing a righty and had to make a pitch, I felt better where I started my slider, dropping it in the zone, and then
Right.
where I started it to finish them.
I was looking at the Matzek numbers, man. Uh, after those 2 runs were added, earned runs, 14 hits, 11 earned runs in 6 2/3 innings over his last 8 appearances. That's a 14.85 ERA. Um, with Pierce Johnson, those numbers to be exact on how dominant this guy's been. He has a 3.00 ERA and a 1.250 whip, right? 13 appearances. 3 of the 4 runs, like I said, a lot came in April 8th against the Mets. He only got 2 outs that game. His other 12 games, 0.79 ERA, 7 hits, 1 run allowed in 11 1/3 innings. Since that Mets game, his last 6 1/3, all scoreless innings in 7 appearances, 10 strikeouts, 1 walk, and a 136 opponent's average his last 7 games. That's why he was so frustrated. He goes, because I've been pitching great at the end of April, and then all of a sudden this.
Yeah, you never get hurt when you're struggling. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
when you just feel terrible and you're off, it's like you'd be lying and feel bad if you're jumping out if you go to the trainers and say something hurts. It doesn't, but it always happens when you're on a roll.
Mentor, I'm sure, is going to probably have to pick up a little bit more of the load.
Yeah.
They were getting away from him, quite using him quite as much as they have. He still leads the team in appearances, but Pierce was right behind him. Mentor pitches in the game today and gives up Muncy, or yesterday gave up Muncy's third home run, right? I'm sorry, that was Matzek. Mentor pitched in today's game, gave up Shohei's second home run.
Yeah.
Shohei, man, the first one, they were both crushed. I mean, and then the one he hit last night, he hit 3 in 2 days. And the one he hit last night off Matzek was destroyed.
I was more impressed with the one he hit off of Freed. That
Oh
curveball
yeah.
inside hitting it to center field.
Yeah.
But there's only a handful of players in the game strong enough to do that. With, I mean, barely any extension, but the way he clears his body out of the way and gets his
Yeah.
barrel to that thing. Those are pop-ups so often. The one that gets crushed is the one that goes middle away at the belt, not the one that hangs,
Yeah.
up
This
and
one,
in.
it was
And if
up
it
and in on it.
Yep. And if it does get
It's
crushed, it gets crushed down the line. They pull it down the right field line
yeah.
and keep it fair. But to stay inside that thing, and it's funny because Freed threw him one right before that, and I was like, "Ooh, he doesn't like the curveball." And then he went dead center. Like that guy's just he's one of a
Yeah.
kind.
Yeah. Asked Max about it because his first inning has been killed him this year. His first inning ERA is close to 50, or it is 15. And then at least before he gave up the second homer, or before he gave up the Teoscar Hernandez home run, sixth inning today, his other innings, his ERA was outstanding. Most of his damage had been in the first, and all three of his home runs had come in the first inning until Teoscar Hernandez hit that one, also on the curveball, the one
Yeah.
to Teoscar. Fried said, Max said that his curveball, he goes, I hung a couple of good hitters hit him. I think he said I was aggressive. I was on the attack. I just might not have executed him as well as I should have. But um, he was really kind of upset about the first inning thing because the first two games skewed that because he didn't make it out of the first inning in Philly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then the next one he gave up a bunch of runs, then settled in. But he'd been much better in the game since then until today as he gives up. And that's Shohei. So I don't know
Yeah. I
that.
don't even know if
I don't think it's a
that
big
counts.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first two games skewed all that, but so they come in and they come into Dodger Stadium and they get swept, and it wasn't the pitching. I mean, the pitching was obviously Bryce had a bad start, but the other games like Fried today, I mean, 7 innings, 4 runs. The Braves when they're clicking, that's
That's a
nothing.
win. Yeah.
That's nothing. So, but the offense has just this funk has gone. What's so weird is they started out the season just like they were last year, a house of fire. They were leading in every statistical category, average, all the slash categories, average OBP slugging. They were leading in homers. They were leading in or doubles, not homers. They were leading in everything basically. And then 2 weeks in, these last couple of weeks, the last 13 games, I went back. They've scored 3 runs or fewer in 6 of their last 8. And stats, MLB stats has a thing last 15 days, last 15 days.
Yeah.
And the last 15, well, obviously the 3 big ones. Acuna finally showed some signs in this Dodger series. He loves hitting here. And he showed some signs coming out of this. He had his first 3-hit game of the year. He had a 2-hit game. So, and his strikeouts way down after being huge. He had 5 straight multi-strikeout games before this series. So he really showed some signs here. Austin Riley had been hitting some balls really hard and getting nothing to show for it. He had a long homer here, 449 a couple of nights ago, 449. So he looked showing some signs. Matt Olson struggling. He hit 2 today, one down, one to right field. I thought he had it in the first inning.
Yeah.
And it was caught at the front of the warning track. And then the other one, he hit a line drive to left, really crushed it, but it went foul by quite a bit. But that was well struck too. So you can look at those as good signs. But man, the numbers are getting ugly. I mean, he has not homered since April 7th. And Austin Riley had not homered since April 7th before he hit that one too.
Those two guys do that though. I mean, I feel like
month though, God.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we've had this conversation before and they always seem to come out of it. But Acuna is the one that's kind of surprising, for him to go this long without looking like himself. But I also think, Acuna kind of sets the tone.
Yeah.
When he gets hot, it takes the pressure off everybody.
And it puts the pressure on the opposing pitcher when he's on base all the time. And the guy has to worry about him hitting a home run to start the game. I just think he makes the guys really uneasy when he's going like he was last year, and he hasn't been this year. So the Braves have got, let's see, they got outscored 20-6 and out homered 9-3 in this 3-game series. Marcell Ozuna hit another home run today, but it was in the 7th inning after they were down 4-0, solo shot. They slipped to 2.5 behind the Phillies after the Phillies won the Sunday night game. 2.5 is the furthest they've been back since September 23rd, 2022, when they were 2.5 behind the Mets. 3 homers on the 6-game trip to Seattle, none in Seattle. So they had 3
was
homers on the
surprising.
6-game trip. And this is a team, remember, that tied the single season record last year, 307 homers. They're tied for 18th in the majors right now with 32 homers in 32 games. It's 15 fewer than the Dodgers have. The Dodgers have played 4 more games, so they have 47. They lead the National. They don't even lead the majors though. There's the Orioles. The Oakland A's have been crushing balls lately.
Yeah.
Crazy, man. The A's have 23 homers in the last 15 days. I looked at that stat, that 15-day stat. They've got, in the past 15 days, the Braves are dead last, 30th out of 30 teams, with 7 homers in 13 games in those 15 days. Tied for 27th in run score in that stretch, 42. And they had a couple of games at the first part of that with some runs. So it's been worse lately. Olsen has homers since April 7th. Austin Riley and Acuna both homered Friday. That was Austin Riley's first since April 7th. Acuna's second of the season.
Yeah.
After hitting 41 last year. They've got 1/3 as many homers.
So he's on pace for 12.
Last 15 days, they've got 7 homers. The Dodgers also played 13 games in a stretch, have 21 homers. They had 5 against the Braves last on Saturday night.
Yeah. Yeah, they were smoking the ball.
Braves are still 4th in OPS, which tells you how hot they were to start the season, because they're still 4th in the majors in OPS at 742. That's despite the last 15 days, they have a 579 OPS. That's 3rd lowest in baseball. That's how hot they were early on. So anyway, Snit, Olsen, Snit said, we're an offensive club, a slug team. We haven't been doing that, but we will. He said, you go through these, and that's why we play 6 months. It's a grind. You come out of it, and there's going to be good stuff on the other side. Olsen said it's tough to struggle like he is. He goes, look, man, you don't want to hit under 200, but that's where we're at. You just got to keep, head down, keep going. He went 2 for 18 on the trip. He's hitting 197, 3 homers, 16 RBIs, and a 676 OPS in 32 games. After leading the majors with 54 homers last year and 139 RBIs.
Yeah, it just takes special people to be able to get through this, because I'm sure it feels like he's never going to find it, never going to get a hit again.
Yeah.
And it's why you repeatedly get all the cliches and people saying, I'm not worried about it. It's a long season. And you say all that stuff because you have to say it to yourself and you have to believe it.
Yeah.
The guys that ride up and down every single day and, you go 0 for 4, you drive home from the field all pissed off. Those are the guys that never really put careers together. But I think it's really encouraging to have seen Matt and Austin both get into pretty bad slumps and pull out every time. And every time that you get out of something like this, you believe it more and more when you say it.
And that's the thing, is we're talking about how these long slump they're in. But if you look at their track records in the last, Austin Riley, the last 3 full seasons, he's been as consistent as any power hitter in baseball.
Yeah.
Matt Olson now has done it for like 5 or 6 years, has put up these steady numbers. So it would be a really, really rare if he, kept slumping and didn't end up hitting 270 with 30 to 40 home runs and over 100 RBIs. And I think that's where he'll end up. It just doesn't feel like it right now. But if you're watching him, you can see where it looks like he's only a click away. It's not like he's up there just taking huge swings and missing the ball or
getting blown up inside or swinging at shit in the dirt.
Or hitting routine fly balls, 300 feet. That's not what he's doing. So, and Austin's been scorching balls too. So, Acuna has not been himself, but like I said, he really showed something on this series in LA, in the series. Because what had really concerned me about Acuna was the strikeout totals, which was so unlike him after last year, reducing that by more than 50%, cutting it in half to go up so high this year was what was really strange. And that's where you start to worry about is he hurt? Is there something wrong with, not his vision or anything. They test that. So, but just when you start to worry about the strikeouts, 5 straight multi-strikeout games, he comes in here and he looked a lot more like himself here. He scorched that home run ball. And that was on a pitch up here, top of the zone.
Good to see him get on top of that. I
Yeah,
think, there's the World Series hangover, probably a little bit of an MVP hangover too. I
probably.
mean, like, it's like he beat the game last year.
Yeah,
You the season he put together, I don't know if you'll ever see again, but the, I kind of got into a point that, I don't know if you remember 2011, I had like a dream season, and then
yeah,
2012 through like
yeah.
about this time, I had a 7 ERA.
The
And
year
it
after you
was,
had the sub 1 ERA.
yeah, and it was like there just wasn't that fire. And any time in the game when you lose that fire burning in your stomach to just be the best, and every game's kind of the World Series to you,
Yeah,
when you lose that, it's almost like, I don't care how talented you are, it's hard to play in the big leagues. And then you look up and it's like, shit, I'm May 2nd or
right,
May 5th, and I have one home run,
right.
two home runs. It's you got a big hole to dig yourself out of. But that season, I'm more
Yeah,
proud of 2012 than I am of 2011, because 2012 I had a 7-something ERA in May and finished the year with like a 1.7. So it was like that for me is so much harder to do than just play out your dream season, and just when everything's going your way, just keep playing. To
yeah.
turn it around and put the work in and battle through that's way more difficult.
I don't think he's the type that would ever say that if it were the case, but
No.
I think you're onto something. I really do. I think the heights that he reached last year, and then to
Yeah.
have the postseason end like it did, but then people ask if he's tired from winter ball. I don't think he's tired from winter ball because he only played less than a month. He stopped in early
Yeah.
January. I think he's tired mentally from
Yeah.
all the shit that went with being MVP. All the they used to call it a rubber chicken circuit in college football or whatever, where you go and get all the awards and
Yeah.
banquets. And he went to all those, because he was kind of obligated to. I mean, it was not like they wanted people asked him to go to those, and he doesn't want to look like an arrogant prick and not go to them, and receive
Yeah.
these awards. So he came to the Braves Fan Fest too. I mean, they could have given him that off, but he's the top draw. He came to that. He went to the Vegas Awards thing, the Players' Choice Awards. He was the star there. He went to the BBW thing in New York. He was the star there. I mean, he went to a couple others too, I think, and he did more ads than he's ever had. They filmed those in the off season. So he gets to spring training. Who knows how much ball he played when he stopped playing winter ball? He might have been better off just playing winter ball instead of doing all the other stuff. But
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
gets to spring training, starts playing, and the knees it gets irritated. Probably because he stopped playing, working out as much for a month, and then picked it up. You know how you ramp up so much. You guys do at the start of
Yeah.
spring training, so it's just inflammation. But he misses like more than 2 weeks of games, so he missed a lot of at bats. And then when he came back, they eased him back in. He didn't get a lot of ABs when he came back. So I think he might have been starting kind of at a deficit when it comes to that and just mental, like you said. And I think once he gets rolling, like you said, then he looks up and sees what he's doing. Okay, there's some urgency now. And once he gets locked in, I think we're probably going to see the regular Acuna
Yeah.
because I don't think he's hurt. If he was, he'd be showing it. I mean, the other day he got picked off at second and he kind of stood there on his knee and people thought he was tweaked it, but I think that was kind of more embarrassment, of being he got caught off second base, pitcher called him, and when he reached back with his leg, it got kind of stuck in the grass. The spike got stuck or in the dirt. So he kind
Yeah.
of just stood there for a second because he knew he wasn't going to get it back. There's nobody's going to scramble at that point. So it looked like he hurt his knee, but I don't. He stayed in the game, and he was, the rest of the game he was fine. He said he was fine afterwards. So I think he's playing healthy. I just think it's the other stuff we talked about.
Yeah. And you look at it now and it's like, all right, well, I guess I'm not going 50-50 this year.
Yeah,
Like that. I think he thrives on the chase. Having a chance to go 40-40 and then look at it and say 40-70, that's a reason to come to the park every day. But you go to the playoffs, you've experienced the excitement of the playoffs, and now it's
yeah,
April 12th or April 28th, and you're playing whoever you're playing. It's really, I felt that was like the hardest challenge when I started getting later into my career, was finding that excitement about it, because it seems like the same story plays out every season. You know what you have to do. And I was
yeah.
less and less excited to do all my bullshit prep and everything I had to do to be ready for a game. And you always have to find that, because if you don't have it, you get eaten alive.
And look what happens when it comes into the biggest series so far of the year, the most exciting series.
That's what
Even
I'm
more,
saying.
I mean, they started in Philly, so it's kind of hard. That's just unusual. You're starting, the first series of the season. It doesn't have that same. This is high time to build up the hype of Shohei, the place that was 45,000. They were booing him like crazy because of
Yep.
last year and the antics, the stuff he and
Uh-huh.
Ozuna do. Um, so after he hit the home run and did his whole thing, and the boos were so loud here.
Yeah.
And that gets him hyped up, man. He loves that stuff. And I think he loves coming in here because what he did last year, he came in here when he got married that first morning, he hits a grand slam for his 30th home run
Yep.
of the year to become 33rd, the first guy to 30, what was it at the time? That was 30, 40. Yeah, 40, yeah. And 30, 50 at the time. And then he had 4 homers in that series, I think. And,
Yeah.
and the Braves won it, and it was basically him carrying them to it. So, and he took the MVP away from Mookie and Freddie in that series, but just went and never slowed down after that. So this time they're coming in with Shohei and all that. And I think he got hyped up for it. And you saw much more closer to the regular Acuna. Locked in. He's not
Yeah.
striking out. I don't think it's coincidence.
Yeah, it's funny too because when Latin players come over and perform well in the playoffs, everybody, asks them how they stay calm or just what their mindset is, and they're like, "This is nothing compared to at
Yeah.
home." And I know that it's smaller stadiums, but the
Right.
fans' energy at
Yeah.
those games they play, and I just think he thrives off of that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why he loves winter ball. He loves that
Yeah.
excitement.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, because look, he was just in Seattle. Good crowds, good team and all that, but nothing like this was.
Yeah.
And look at the difference in him there. He's had 3 more multi strikeout games, and he comes here, nothing like that.
Look at Juan
So,
Soto in pinstripes versus in San Diego.
yeah,
It's just a
yeah.
different. There's those guys thrive off of it. They love it. They love the pressure.
we'll
And I mean, it's a good trait to have.
So we'll see. He's coming home. He'll have some momentum. They play 2 against the Red Sox, a good Red Sox team. Then they go 3 in New York, and I think that they'll be fired up for him there. Weekend series. Mets are playing okay. They'll have some good crowds for the weekend against the Braves for sure.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. I have a feeling this is going to be kind of a springboard for him to get a lot more normal real soon. So
Yeah.
if you got him get back to normal, that'll change. Like you said, he sets the tone. Austin Riley looks a lot closer to it. And I just don't think Olson's far from clicking. To give some people hope about Olson, a year ago, 32 games into the season, he was hitting 244. He did have 9 homers, 26 RBIs because he had a ton of doubles early. He was driving in some runs. Acuna was on base all the time when he hit.
Yeah.
But he was hitting 244 with an 892 OPS after 32 games. Then his average, people forget this, his average slipped to 227 with an 833 OPS after 67 games. He was hitting 227 after 67 games, right?
Yep.
So the rest of the season, 95 games, he hit 323, 36 homers, 94 RBIs, and an 1108 OPS in the last 95 games of the season. So,
yeah, that's why that's my favorite quote that a lot of older players would say when I came into the game was water finds its level.
yeah.
And it's just all about, you don't get caught up in right now. You just put the work in, trust your ability. You look at your history. You've put the numbers up before. You've been in these slumps before.
Yeah.
And at the end of the year, you look up and all these guys, maybe it's a little bit of a down year. Maybe it's a huge year for them, but they're pretty close to their numbers most of the time.
Yeah, no doubt. And him and Riley, they're like machines with the numbers they produce year after year.
Yeah.
So, and Fried, that for anybody interested, that first inning ERA now 16.20 after the Ohtani homer. It was 1.40 for all the other innings this season because he got blown up in that first game, didn't make it out of the first inning, basically.
Yeah.
In the second one, he settled in after a bad first inning. So we'll see. He wasn't bad today. I mean, wasn't great by his standards, but 4 runs against that team in 7 innings.
Yeah.
That's not bad. If the Braves are scoring like usual, they win that game 6-5,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Nick said it best, is they're an offensive team. They're a slug team. And when I think we talked about it, I don't know, a few weeks ago, but it's like, this is what has to happen to hold this offense. You have to have 3 really, really good players not being themselves. And then you got to have Murphy hurt. You got to have just to face some really good pitching to hold them down too. They didn't face bad pitching on this trip.
Yeah. Well, they faced good pitching in both places. Yeah. And then for that, they had faced the Cleveland pitching. So it's been 3 straight series of good pitching.
and
So,
really not friendly pitchers park,
right.
hitters parks. Ball goes nowhere either one of them except LA maybe in a day game.
It didn't carry today. What? It did when Shohei hit
That's what I was thinking. I was like, maybe the balls are fine when he hit that one to left center.
it. Yeah, he's different. Um, oh, by the way, Max in the state of California, because he's from here, Santa Monica, he had been before this game, 9 career starts in the state of California, 7-1 with a 1.67 ERA. How about that?
Pretty damn good.
And just the last thing I wanted to point out was it gets overlooked, but the Braves led the majors in fewest errors before today, and they hadn't made an error in like 8 games before Olson made that error today, which I think was kind of frustration, probably 8th inning after he gets thrown out trying to turn a single into a double. That ball carried him right off the wall to the outfielder, and
Yeah.
just had to do perfect like that. But that was their first error in over a week. But the defense that Orlando Arcia is playing at shortstop, I mean, it was good last year. It was okay. It was good. He's playing Gold Glove caliber defense at shortstop this
So
year.
smooth.
That play he turned today, when he fielded the ball, he goes to his left, fields the ball while he's sliding on his knee, and does this spin on his knee, back flicks the ball with the glove, never touched it with his hand, flicks the ball with the glove right to Ozzie for the force at second. Perfect throw with his glove while he's spinning. I'm like, there's hardly anybody in the majors that can make that play.
It's just an extension of his hand at this point.
He is slick, man. And then I looked up his numbers and it supported it. I didn't realize how good the numbers were. The metrics are way up from last year. He's better defensively right now, analytically, metrics, than Dansby.
Yeah, I've been noticing it. I've almost every game I feel like he does something where I'm like, that wasn't a very easy play, and he made it look pretty ezy. That was a tough play, and he made it look easy.
And the arm is so much better than Dansby's, man.
He's got a cannon.
I mean, Dansby got better, had a lot better range, but for this year. But Arcia is getting the balls this year like the one today that he didn't get to before. Yeah. And then his arm is so good, and he's so slick with the hands and the feet around the base. And that's a lot of those Latin shortstops, middle infielders are like that, and that's what he's around the bag. He's really slick. So that's impressive, man. They got their shortstop, and he's making $2 million a year.
Yeah.
All-star starter, and I really think he'll be a contender for the Gold Glove. I mean, if he keeps
a lot of these deals have worked out pretty nice.
Yeah. So Ozzie's defense and second, not quite there. But the left side of the infield, Austin Riley also made a tremendous play during this series defensively. Great throw.
I feel like he's been underrated for years.
Yeah. So not a good trip for the Bravos, no doubt about that. They're in a slump, offensive slump, no doubt, but it's gone on for a while now, and you got to think they're going to break out soon. The pitching I didn't think was terrible. As long as they don't lose Pierce for any kind of extended period, the bullpen should be fine. But you do lose something with him, no doubt. It's going to be more of a load on Jimenez,
and
AJ, and obviously Iglesias will be closing, but. You had 3 really good closers, or 3 really good setup guys with Pierce in there. Now you got 2.
Yeah, they need Matzek to find it.
Yeah. Yeah. They need Matzek to find it, but he looks like a long ways from that right now. He's going to have to take on more of a load now. And we'll see. Snit didn't think he's be able to improve when he's pitching once a week. Well, they're going to have to use him more now.
Yeah.
It
might be good for him, though, too.
It's a tough spot, man. I mean,
it's the worst spot in the pen. It's the worst spot in the pen is you only get to pitch in the shitty games.
Yeah. So Jesse can handle that. Jesse can handle that at his point of his career, but even he came in and gave up runs. But Mentor, though, is in a tough spot because he's out of options. They signed him to that contract to get him through rehab this year. Matzek.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Mentor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Matzek's out of options. So if he had an option, you send him to AAA and let him work and get regular work. You can pitch him whenever you want to down there. You don't have to worry about the situation, just pitching. He's out of options. So even if he agreed to be sent down, Braves couldn't do it because somebody else would claim him in a heartbeat. But this is where the old phantom injury, if they want to, I think if he might look at it as, hey, if I can go down and pitch, 2 or 3 times a week for couple of 3 weeks, it might be the best thing for me. So I could see him agreeing to, do that. I don't know, not accusing them or anything, but this happens. That's the
Oh,
only
that's
way you
hard.
can send
Yeah.
him down, though. I mean, that's the only way you could do that to get him regular work. Unless you're going to use him now in these games, now that because you need somebody to step up, and you
I
don't have
think he
any obvious
thrives on big
candidates.
situations too, though.
Yeah,
I mean, I always
yeah,
felt like it was so much easier to pitch bases loaded in Philly in the seventh inning than it was to go to that old Miami stadium
yeah.
up five. Like I'm
Joe
giving up
Robbie,
five.
pro player.
That place, you got 4,000 fans in the stands. You can hear everything everybody's saying. That those games sucked. So
Yeah,
I like the packed houses, the big situation where I can't fail because then it's not about me. When you come into a
right,
6, 7, 8, 9 run game, the only thing to focus on is getting right. It's like the pressure is a distraction from all your
right.
bullshit you're doing.
Well, we'll see. I mean, they're gonna have to figure out something with him. It's hard to watch him when he's
Yeah.
giving up runs like that. It's just not him, man. And he looks so good in spring too. I mean, it's totally different game, totally different animal facing the Dodgers and facing some of these guys he's had to face. But we'll see. So I think these 2 off days can help him in the next 4 days. Get rested up. Get home, get back home, get some home cooking, and see if they can get the offense cranked up before they go to New York this weekend. So,
Yep.
as bad as it's been, they're still right there. I mean, they're 2.5 on the Phillies, and the Phillies have been playing great. Phillies have got I think I saw a 9-game home winning streak, or maybe more than that. So, but hey, speaking of the Marlins, how about them? As bad as they have been, they traded Araz for prospects to the Padres, and they paid his salary so they could get a better prospect, and they still didn't get a great prospect.
I got
They're
nothing on
terrible.
that. I got
They're
nothing
terrible.
positive to say about that.
They're terrible, man. They're going to lose 110 games.
Yeah. I
So
mean, you got to give the people something to come to the park for.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So they're in a complete rebuild, starting another rebuild, and I'm like, what are you rebuilding from? I thought they were still building from the other time. Did they just
That's like,
abort the rebuild halfway through and stay starting over again?
it's the greatest business. It's the greatest scam that's ever been pulled is convincing the fans to be patient and wait like 5 years. We're going to be good. And then when it doesn't work, you buy another five. Like there's so many teams that have been doing that and it just disgusts me.
But their fans don't buy it because
They
they've
know.
seen them. Yeah, they've seen them win 2 World Series and break up the team, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Wake us up when you're in the playoffs again. We'll come out." So a bad situation, man. You'd be hearing about them moving, rumors of them moving if it wasn't for that ballpark. But there's no way they can move because the Dade County residents are
Yeah.
paying for most of that ballpark, and they didn't get to vote on it. They got screwed by the city council down there. So they're paying for it. Ain't no way the MLB is moving that team from there. So anyway, all
And you
right,
could
we'll talk
try.
again. We'll talk again after the 2-game Boston series. I don't even like calling it a series. It's like what, a set? It's a
Yeah.
series, even two
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
Anyway, I hate those 2-game series, but
Me too.
they'll play 2 against Boston, and we'll talk again. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. I know it was a rough weekend. Good thing is not many people were able to watch it with a Bally situation.